to our podcast, The Celtic Coven.
I'm Cheyenne.
I'm Sage. Grab your cup of tea.
Or a cup of coffee.
And let's get comfy.
Welcome to this week's podcast. Today we have a guest.
A special guest.
Our friend Cole. Say hi.
Hi.
So our topic today is going to be like fairy tale stuff or like folklore.
A lot of fantasy things.
Like just all sorts of mystical creature type stuff. So what is your guys' like favorite mystical creature?
I would probably say mine might be mermaids.
Okay. Why?
I don't know. I find them like super cool. Like, not like the regular mermaids, you know, that you see in like Disney or whatever.
So not like Ariel per se.
Yeah.
No.
Like sirens, kind of.
Sirens are cool.
So like more fishy, than like your
Yeah.
basic human.
They
on
don't.
top
They don't gotta
and,
look pretty. It's more
Like-
realistic for them to
like,
be looking like the
I want
sirens.
dangerous.
Yeah. So
Danger.
like Scottish Selkie
Oh,
instead
yeah.
of like mermaid per se.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's the same. They're honestly the same thing for the most. Well, not the same thing, but like similar.
The
mythic
concept of it,
creature.
though.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But I feel like the Selkie version, the one that you're talking about, is
Yeah.
more realistic.
Yes.
Because being totally like half fish and half human is not possible
It
at
doesn't
all.
make sense.
No, like especially if you think like okay, so you dissect it and you do like you compare it to like animals that we know are true. Deer, right? Deer are formed to their environment, right? Like they
Yes.
adapt to their environment, right? So why is that not true with mythic creatures?
Right.
You know, so like they're in the ocean, it's cold in some places, there's a lot of pressure. It would make sense for them to have a more durable skin, you know, than like
we
your
have a little
average
bit
human.
of blubber.
Yeah, and like let's be honest, like
Yeah.
flowing red hair.
Yeah.
Probably unlikely.
Yeah, not the most realistic
Yeah,
thing.
you know.
Because like the regular mermaids you see where it's half fish, half human, is for it to not be super weird for people
Or
I think.
scary.
Yeah.
Or scary. But like it being like sirens where they're fish.
Yep.
But they're just human type looking, like the form of it
Yeah.
is human, then that makes sense.
Well,
I want them
and-
to be dangerous. They're probably going to be predators.
Oh god, yeah.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
the top of their food chain in whatever
So
situation
speedy
they
and
are.
everything.
You know? It's the same way that humans became the top of the food chain. You know, like
Yeah.
like theoretically they're gonna have to have a form of community. Theoretically they're gonna have to have some sort of like come togetherness. So they're almost like wolves in that sense. Like you know, a bear is stronger than one wolf, but 10 wolves are stronger than one bear. Even if the bear can, you know, screw those wolves up, like at the same time, those 10 wolves are still gonna win.
Yeah.
You know, so I feel like that's the same way with them. Like, yeah, great white
Yeah,
sharks
because I
could
could
probably
imagine
eat
mermaids.
them.
I could imagine mermaids teaming up.
Yeah, oh hell yeah,
and
like pack
killing-
hunters, you know.
Like killing like a shark.
Yeah, yeah, but if one mermaid encounters a great white shark, is it gonna win?
Probably not.
Probably not. You know.
It depends if the mermaid's faster.
Yeah, or if they're smarter, like they have like a weapon or something like that that has made them, you know, have that advantage, which they probably would. You know, you would think, but yeah, they're definitely apex predators. Like they have to be.
Yes.
You know, they definitely have
Yeah.
to be.
What about you? What's yours?
I go back and forth. Like sometimes I really, really enjoy like vampire lore, and I know that's basic as hell, but like
Vampires
honestly,
are cool.
like, yeah, vampires are cool. Like I like the idea of immortality.
Yes.
You know, but here's the thing: it comes with a caveat. Like I like the idea of immortality, but I want to be able to choose one other person to be immortal with me.
Yes. Oh, we
were talking about
we
this
were
the
talking
other
about this
day.
the other day. Yeah, so it's like to be immortal is really cool, but
Yeah.
the concept of vampires being able to be killed by like a wooden stake and stuff, you kind of get to choose.
Yeah.
But so many times, like in shows and everything, there's always like they have to have somebody. Why do they turn lovers into vampires and stuff like that?
Because they're not going to go through life
Alone.
years of life.
Like you're talking
by
potentially
themselves.
thousands of years of life.
Yeah.
Like I can't imagine a reason not to want to be immortal, except for that you can't share it with someone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the problem. Because humans, I mean, if you think about it, like you're a vampire, you were once a human,
Yeah.
so those traits are going to come through in some way. Like, that's just, how it works, right?
Yeah.
Humans have a huge need for companionship, for family, for community,
and
for all of those things.
And if you know you're going to be alive for hundreds of years, you're going to want people with you.
Yeah, just make sure you pick the right one, because you don't want to turn someone who annoys you after a day or two into a vampire with you, because then you're just stuck.
You're
with
stuck with that annoying person.
Not necessarily.
So
you
choose
could
well.
just kill them.
I mean, you could. You could. I mean, in all potential too, you could just separate and do your you go off here but say this idea, I get turned into a vampire. I only get to pick one person. I can't change people. Like, that's not how it works. You get the vampire curse, and then you can pass it to one other person if they're willing to accept it.
That I would take a long time to decide.
Right.
I would not just do that.
Right. But also at the same time, say you find this person, right, and you take 50 years to decide. Now you're changing a 75-year-old vampire.
Oh, yeah.
And who wants to live like that? I wouldn't want to live like that. So there is some time limit to it, but I go back and forth between vampires. I really enjoy werewolves, but I don't like the darkness that comes with that. You know what I mean? It's very primal and all of that stuff. So I enjoy it, but I don't think I would actually want to be a werewolf or necessarily be involved with a werewolf. It depends on the type of werewolf, I guess.
Yeah, if we're talking even with Twilight.
Yeah.
Those
That's
werewolves,
honestly what I was thinking. I'm I want to be a sparkly vampire.
I don't want to be a sparkly vampire.
I do. I want to go out during the day, be beautiful and strong and rich. That would be great.
No, I want to be a Vampire Diaries vampire.
Ooh, I like them too. Although the whole getting kicked out of the house thing just after a word does throw me.
Well,
because I would get kicked out of so many houses. If you could just be right now, if you could just be
get
out, and I was magically lifted out of the house, I would not survive.
Well, I don't think it works that way.
Houses.
No, in the Vampire Diaries, you can't come in, and then once they invite you in,
no, they can take you out.
Then that's it. The only time I've seen in the show that
when Tookie,
then they taking somebody out is when they've changed the deed to somebody else, and somebody has to invite you in again.
Okay, I can see that, but I haven't watched.
But once you're
Vampire
invited
Diaries.
in, then you're in.
I haven't watched Vampire Diaries in a really long time. But the one thing that I do, or one of the things that I'm remembering about that, I should say, is that there was this moment when Tookie and I don't even remember the main guy's name because I was more interested in the other people than I was him.
Stefan or Damon or something?
Oh, no, I'm not thinking of Vampire Diaries. I'm sorry, I'm confusing my genres. Not genres, shows. I'm thinking of True Blood.
Oh, True Blood.
True Blood,
okay.
Yeah, True Blood, and that does happen in True Blood where Sookie's I revoke your invite, and the vampire's magically sucked out of the house.
Oh yeah, no, that doesn't happen in Vampire Diaries.
Yeah, I would I wouldn't be able to survive. It wouldn't.
Yeah, you're oh, okay. Oh,
yeah, sorry, I said something that offended you, and now I got kicked out of the house.
You're hey, can I come back in?
Knock on the door.
My jacket's still in there.
But on a real note, I would have to say that probably my favorite mythical creature is all of the takes on elves.
Oh, yeah.
I love almost every aspect of elf lore, from the darker stuff with R.A. Salvatore, and I think it was R.A. Salvatore. I might be getting him wrong, but the Driss series, the dark elves under the earth, and it's a completely different idea. And then I like Legolas, and I like all of the other stuff. The only thing I really don't like about elf culture is I don't like the Keebler elf style necessarily. I don't like the idea of elves living in your house fixing your shoes.
Yeah, no.
Because it's just
Why?
Yeah, it's these are beautiful mythic creatures. They're not cookie baking things that live in a tree.
Yeah.
Or cobblers. So and that's a personal opinion. That's just my idea of it. Because a lot of people think elves are cute like that, but I don't. No. Particularly, I find it a little insulting to the greater elf lore. It's
yeah, you're making this magical creature do the work for you.
Exactly.
If it's willing, being all let me make you shoes. Okay.
Yeah.
Fine. But it's not make me shoes.
It's a servant
fix my shoes
thing almost. It just weirds me out. It's a weird version of elf culture, and I just don't particularly vibe with it. But I would say that elves are by far my favorite. Yeah. How about you?
On that, I really like what mine is. I like hobbits.
Ooh, I like hobbits too.
I think they're so cute.
Yeah.
But, like, so down to earth.
Yep.
And so I really like down to earth stuff. So even, like, fae, like
Yep.
fairies. So, like, I just like anything that's, like, down to earth kind of thing, taking care of the earth.
Yeah.
And I just think, like, hobbits are very much like that in their homes, like, you know, in the Hobbit.
Oh,
Lord of
so
Rings. Like,
beautiful.
that's so beautiful. I would love to
yeah.
live
Right.
like that.
That's my ideal home, honestly. Like,
Really.
me and my partner
Oh,
have
yeah,
been
it'd be
discussing
really
for
pretty.
years about how we will build a hobbit hole.
I know. I want one so bad, but also, like,
It's
all
a
the
lot.
curves, you gotta figure out, like, what kind of things you want to be able to put in it, because I also like just big square houses.
Yeah, me too.
So
I like
it's
the
like
space.
in
Yeah.
between. Kind
Yeah,
of.
Yeah,
I
you
don't
need
want to
to
be
keep the
squished in,
theme.
but like.
Do I just
keep
build
the
a
theme,
mountain,
yeah.
one big hobbit hole in a mountain to
Like-
have all the space?
I tend to think of it as like, okay, like my house, if I ever had the money to be able to build it the way I 100% wanted, would probably look like your average house on the outside,
Yeah.
but I'm going to build it so I can pile earth on top of it. And
Yeah.
it is just going to be a
hobbit,
mountain hill,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Because like I'm not talking like 5,000 square foot or anything
Yeah,
like
no.
that. Just like your standard, just like your standard like suburban size house, 3-4 bedrooms, a basement, all that stuff, like a normal house. But I want to build it out of like concrete or something that I can literally just pile
Yeah,
earth
can
on top of it
sustain
and grow
it,
plants.
yeah.
You know,
That'd be so cool.
right? I'm just gonna make my own hill.
Yeah.
I think that would be so cool to, like, live like that.
Yeah,
And I just
agree.
want to be in the forest. I'm such, like, a nature person. Like, I just want to be in the forest and hide away.
Yep.
Become, like, a fairy or something.
Right.
I'll just stay being a witch
Yeah.
in the forest.
I mean, it's kind of like the same thing, like what you can do, since I can't turn into a vampire or turn into a fairy.
Well, it's like one
I'll
of those
just be a
memes.
witch.
It's like one of those memes where it's like this is the idea of what it was, like ethereal, like forest fairy, and then the next picture is like swamp hag. It's like, well, I'll take both.
Like, my ideal of, like, how I want my life to be, which it probably won't be, is I want to be that witch in the woods where people go to my house for things because they know I'm the witch.
Right.
Be like, there's this witch in the woods that she can help with, like, sicknesses
Herbs,
or
yeah.
whatever. And everyone just come into my house and be like, I need a spell. And I'm like, here you go again.
Oh
Yeah,
my
for me, when I think of like being like the witch in the woods per se, which I do want to live, in a heavily forested area. I do really enjoy trees and
I love
the
trees.
wildlife that comes with them. I'm not gonna lie, I'm definitely a broadleaf person, so like I like maples and birches.
Yeah.
See, I
You
am
know.
a pine, like I'm
So
a,
is Dustin.
I'm
Yeah,
a
so is
evergreen
Dustin.
type person.
He's a pine person.
Yeah.
And the thing is I like pine. I'm not saying I don't like pine. I just happen to have more of a connection with the leafy trees.
Yeah. I mean, I think they're really pretty too, but I just
Yeah.
love that, like, evergreens, like, are...
I like that they're evergreen.
Yeah.
That is
Always here.
the aspect I like about them, is that it's like, oh, this is the one not dreary part about winter in Minnesota after the holidays.
Yes.
Is that we still have green pine trees.
Yes.
And they're pretty, especially when they're like capped in snow and frost
Oh,
and stuff.
ooh,
Super
beautiful.
pretty. My problem with winter is that I have to experience it. So if I was like a witch living in the woods who didn't have to leave my house, I'd probably enjoy winter a lot more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so that's why I have the connection to the broadleaf trees, because like it's my favorite time of year. It's summer. It's fun.
Yeah.
It's happy. But yeah, I don't know. I guess when I think of being the witch in the woods, to bring it back to the main point, I think of isolation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not that I want to isolate myself completely from society, because that's not the case. It's more
Oh, yeah,
like,
you need to be social.
like I like my privacy.
You go out in town once a week.
Yeah, exactly. Like I'm a very, very extroverted introvert.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I can certainly adapt to social situations, and like it's fine. It's not a big deal. But I generally prefer to be with my small group of people, the people I'm comfortable with.
Yeah.
All of those things. So when I think of being in the Witch in the Woods, I think of like my small group just chilling in the woods and hanging out and having fun and doing magic and growing gardens and drying herbs. So like I think of it almost more in a hobbit sense than in
Yeah.
an actual witch sense. you
Yeah.
know? But I really like hobbits, so like that's cool that was yours. Because I didn't even think of necessarily hobbits, because I'm just like, we are hobbits.
I mean, yeah, kind of.
You know?
Yeah.
But that's honestly a great pick. I probably would have picked that because, like you said, it's realistic. It's very much something that you can grow into. You know.
Yeah, I would love to be like that.
Plus, Lord of the Rings is just amazing by far.
Yes.
One of my favorite series. Actually, I'm just gonna go out on a limb here and say it's by far my favorite series.
Oh.
You know, I really, really enjoy
That's a
the lore
strong
around
take.
it. Yeah, I mean, I enjoy the lore around it. I enjoy that he approached it from more of like a college professor, because I think he was a college professor. I'm pretty sure he was. But he was, you know, he approached it as, I'm going to make fantasy into a real world.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that is something that I really enjoyed because he made it real. Like, he made it function. Like, it wasn't just...
It wasn't just a story. It was a whole world that was made.
And it worked. That's the thing. Like, you had elves, you had orcs, you had goblins, you had flying eagles, you had dark lords in frickin' Mordor, and the economies still were established.
Yeah.
Languages were established. So
but
it's like...
we could talk about Lord of the Rings in another topic.
That is true.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, I go overboard with Lord of the
totally
Rings. I'm not gonna
have
lie.
a whole topic.
Yeah.
But my question is, do you think there is still, like, fairy tale creatures here now?
Do I believe that cryptids... that's what I call, like, fairy tale creatures.
Yeah.
Cryptids. And I don't call them that on purpose. It's just that I read a lot of, like, stuff that
call it whatever you want.
Yeah. You know.
Yeah.
So, do I think that they still exist? I think that the vast majority of them have probably gone extinct.
Yeah.
Simply for the fact that the world has changed and all of those kind of things. So if they don't have an easy way out or an easy way to adapt, as in like learning technology and, you know, learning, and by technology I mean advancing magic, you know, to keep pace with human technology. I think that the vast majority, say if there was 100%, I think that probably 60% is extinct.
Yeah.
You know, but I do think that there are the adaptable ones, there are the survivors, there are the scary ones, there are the cool ones.
Like mermaids.
Yeah, you know, and then there are the ones who have the environment that could adapt to.
Still be
well, I mean, the Earth is covered by 7/10 water.
Yeah.
We have 7 times more sea area than we do land area.
Yeah.
And we are just now, after thousands of years of existence, mapping all of the land area.
You know what
So you're going to tell me that the oceans couldn't?
Yeah, I know.
Do that?
We
Like,
just have
it
not
just doesn't
discovered
make
everything
sense.
that's in
Yeah.
the ocean yet.
Exactly.
But you know what I think? I think that at some point, like, they have created another, like, world on top of ours. Like, you know, like, there's the spirit, like, world. I want to just call it, like, a world. But, like, I think there's, like, a fairy tale world. Like, they created
like a dimension.
Yeah, kind
a
of
portal,
thing.
you
So,
know.
like, that's why I think some people can see, like, spirits and stuff. It's because, like, they're able to, like, reach these other dimensions
into the depth,
that are
you know.
here. So I think that at some point, to keep them safe and, like, protect them from us humans, they created a whole new world.
Yeah, and I honestly didn't even consider that as part of my answer, because I was just thinking of, like, do they exist, like, on
our
Earth
plane.
right now?
They're, like, the planes.
Like, so, like, on Earth, I think that there are mysteries out there, and there are mythical creatures and cryptids who are smart and are capable of hiding from us and all of those things. I do think that that does exist. There's so many inexplicable things in the world. That, and it's not that those couldn't be attributed to other things, because I'm sure if you really wanted to dig deep into it, you could. But, like, I think all of us have secretly known that the borrowers are living in our house.
Yeah.
Like, just throwing that out there.
All
There's
of
a
a sudden
reason
your keys
humans have a
disappear.
connection to this
humanity,
or to this stories, you know? It's because they're real.
Yeah.
You know, they're
Where
real.
do they come from anyways? Like, I know sometimes people can, like, over-exaggerate things, and I think that's very possible with all these stories and lores and stuff. But, like, there has to be something that triggered something.
Well, there's truth in it. So, like, why does every culture on planet Earth have the stories of the same mythical creatures?
Right, exactly.
I mean, you're talking from Aztecs to Chinese people, they have stories of dragons.
Yes, exactly.
Like, and these are cultures who in my belief, we're connected. Like, I do believe that ancient people were capable of getting across the ocean, and I think that it's really silly to think that Christopher Columbus or anybody else was the first person to discover this. Like, we've been trading with these continents for thousands of years. We have artifacts that prove it.
Yeah.
You know, but people, mainstream history and mainstream society doesn't want to make those connections. But according to mainstream thought, if these cultures weren't connected, why do they have these stories?
Well, and knowing how humans are when it comes to, like, animals and wanting to get stuff from these animals, like horns and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I'm so sure there was, like, some type of dragon here, and us humans want to be the most powerful and, like, kill them all.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, because, you know, maybe they needed the horn, maybe they used the leather, maybe...
Or just being able to say, like, I killed a dragon.
Yeah.
Just for fun, like...
Because that's even in movies and shows like that, where people are like, let's go kill this dragon and bring it to the king, and we'll get all these riches.
Yep.
Why?
Why?
It's not doing anything to you.
Yeah, nope, it's just existing.
It's just because it's a big animal.
Yeah, and you were threatened by it, and, you know, it just...
Well, and
it also is an economic thing. Like, humans tend to be economic creatures, you know? Like, if I can take, not me personally, because I am not a hunter, but... not that there's anything wrong with hunting, but it's just not a me thing. I don't like butchering things. I don't like shooting things. But good hunters take the skin. They take the hooves. They take, you know,
and that's what I was going to say. As
like,
a hunter myself, I do not hunt for game. Yeah. Just for fun or nothing.
For trophy,
like it's
you know.
To get the meat, to be able to feed family, and then, like...
There's a function
that
and a
goes
purpose.
into, like, the native culture of being, like, knowing to use... everything that you can use from it, and thank them for providing you of these resources.
Yeah, you know, if you're gonna take a life, then, you know, make it worthwhile. Yeah, you know, make it something that feeds someone else or clothes someone else.
It just makes me so upset when, like,
and that could have happened with dragons.
Elephant tusks, people do that, which leads me into the whole idea of unicorns. Yeah. I really think unicorns were here before.
Oh, yeah. And then people killed them.
And people killed them, literally killed them to get their horn.
Would not surprise me. I mean, we do that, like you said, we do that in the modern day with a few elephants.
Like elephants,
and
rhinos, everything.
You know.
And so it's very sad because, like, these beautiful creatures and... Like, even, like, buffalo are another one that they do that with.
Oh, yeah. Buffalo were almost extincted. I mean, like, the only reason they survived was because of, like, natural forest lands and things that they could hide in, you know?
I think I heard where the buffalo that we have today are the ancestors of buffalo that were in Canada.
Oh, yeah.
Probably. And that's why we have them in America, is because they took them from Canada and breeded them. And
well, they literally wiped out a species, and they did the same thing with wolves. Like, that's why, like, the Yellowstone pack that they reintroduced into Yellowstone, which are also from Canada, wild wolves that they sourced and brought down to reestablish, you know, that kind of thing. And it's a huge matter of controversy with all the, like, ranchers and farmers and stuff down there, but also, like, wolves are apex predators. Like, humans understand better now that we need those sort of predators at the top because they control and they manage the rest of the food chain. Yeah. You know, so at one point, wolves may not have been the top of the chain. It might have been dragons. It might have been, you know, unicorns. They probably weren't predators. No, you know, but, like, they might have been the top of
there probably was something else that was above that, of course, just, like, over time they just got killed away. Or, like, I was thinking, like, maybe they're on another plane where it's just...
Honestly, I hope that is the case because, like,
I know.
It breaks my heart to say that...
They're gone.
They're gone, yeah, because, like, they're too intrinsic. You know, they're too in the culture, in the weave, in the stories.
But I also really think that these creatures, all these different types of creatures, are so smart. Like, I do think, like, mermaids, I think they're really, really smart, and if they actually are here, which I really do think they are.
I actually, that is
they're so smart to know how to hide.
Oh, God, yeah. And
they have deep in the ocean.
Yeah, they can reach, oh my gosh. To actually be able to see, like, a mermaid in real life. Just,
on my heart.
Oh my gosh, I would die right there.
I'm the same. And I would accept death happily. Yeah. I'm like, I fucking knew it.
This is it. This is all I've ever wanted in life.
Swimming towards you.
And heart attack.
I'm okay. It's gonna kill me. I'm fine.
Yep.
Whatever.
That's what my fiance says it all the time. He wants to cuddle with a tiger, and he's like, I accept that tiger is probably going to kill me.
Yeah.
He's like, but that is going to be the best cuddle. And I'm like, yeah, if I could swim with mermaids, even knowing, like, sirens, for instance, right? So the whole idea of a siren is that they lure sailors to their death and all of this stuff, you know, by their voice.
Where did these stories come from, by the way? Hello. Pointing that out.
No, yeah, for sure. But, like, I would be able to recognize that it'd be a siren. Maybe not, but like I like to think that I could hear a beautiful woman singing on an island or a beautiful man
random singing,
and
like,
be
what's
like,
going on?
I'm very intrigued by this and feeling drawn in. I would instantly think siren if I had control of my concepts.
You
right?
know what's really funny?
But I'd still go. Like I'd still go.
I want to see it.
I want to know if it's real. I want you to do your siren thing and prove to me that my theories have always been correct.
Yeah,
like today,
if I die in the process,
it's worth
I'll
it.
know
It's for
that
science.
I'm right.
Magic science.
I think it's funny that we're talking about sirens because I was in the car driving to work and I've been listening to like shanties and stuff.
Oh yeah.
And what's it called? It's like Old Sailor something. It's from like Pirates of the Caribbean. I forget what the song's called.
Old Jerry Sailor Boy?
Yeah, something.
Like,
you know what song I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And so I'm driving and the song comes on. I'm like, oh, it's a good song. And of course it's all like siren-y. And I'm sitting there driving. I felt like so like hypnotized a little bit. And I was like, slap myself, get out of it. You gotta focus on driving. I'm like, wait a second, what's going on here?
Yeah, that ethereal sound, like I might
it's
know
so hypnotizing.
Like
it's
I might
beautiful.
know it's a trap. A conceptual part of me might be like, you shouldn't go to this random person on an island who's singing so beautifully.
Yeah.
But I'd still go.
Yeah.
I would.
You're like,
worth
man,
it.
what are you doing?
Totally worth it.
But also what I love when it comes to like creatures. Now I like the Loch Ness monster. I don't know if Nessie is there, but I feel like maybe it's like a ghost of like a dinosaur. I forget what the dinosaur's called.
Plesiosaur?
Yeah, something.
Is it? It might not be. I'm not 100% sure.
I'm not
an
sure.
expert on dinosaurs.
I mean,
I'm not an expert on anything really, but like I'm certainly not an expert on dinosaurs.
Either it's a ghost or it's actually like, because I think the Loch Ness Lake or whatever it's called is connected to the ocean. Yeah. It's connected to the ocean.
It is, yes. Yeah.
So that just kind of makes it more believable that it is in the deep ocean, like we're talking about with sirens.
Yeah.
And sometimes comes in here and people see it sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, it could definitely be, like, with, like, Nessie and other certain creatures like that, like, those are the creatures that make me think that, like, the whole, like, pocket dimension, multiverse, portal thing, you know, like,
another, like,
another way to, and they just kind of switch back and forth, which is why you can never kind of confirm that. Those are the creatures that make me actually think that, because, like, if you're talking about it from just, like, a systems management viewpoint, like, that lock does not support enough life to feed a creature of that size.
That big, yeah.
It just doesn't. Even the ocean close to it would still make that a really hard existence, and why wouldn't it just stay out in the ocean? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
You know, unless it's like a breeding ground or something. But also, the other side thing is that I've heard, like, the Nessie people who have searched for them for years, like scientists and stuff, and they say that the thing that gives them the biggest doubt is that there's not a lot of backup to say that there's a breeding population of these creatures. Like a
physical
you know? Yeah, like
evidence.
Even physical evidence, like, if there was a breeding population, you need several, I mean, at a minimum, you need multiple creatures. You need 10, 15, 20, 30, and for a big breeding population, you need even more.
Yeah.
You know, otherwise, it's going to be such a small population. And I get that I'm putting on, like, real-world things to, like, a mythic creature as rules, but, like, think about it this way. Like, if they were real, they would have to fall, unless they have some sort of magic or pocket dimension that they can go in and out of.
Like, a big explanation on what happens with these certain, like, creatures. Because, like, obviously, somebody could say, oh, I saw a turtle. You can go find evidence of turtles there, and it makes sense.
But we can only find those things because turtles are still present in the world today.
Yeah, exactly.
So, like, organic matter decay is super, super fast, you know, especially in the water.
Yeah.
You know, so who's to say that there isn't physical evidence of an entire breeding population or population of Nessies? You know, and who's to say that there isn't even a small one nowadays? There could be, and they could just be deep sea creatures who are secretive, so we don't see them. I mean, we're still discovering animals.
Deep there with the mermaids.
Yeah. Like, we're just still discovering mammals and reptiles and insects today.
I think I saw a thing where there was a bug or a small animal, small living thing that they thought was extinct, but actually wasn't.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Or, like, I think it re-evolved into the earth, like, into the ecosystem.
Yeah.
Because I think its environment was a certain way, and then the environment changed, and then it changed back to what it can be, and so it just re-evolved back into...
Well, I mean, everything goes through cycles.
Yeah.
Like, everything. The oceans, land, moon, like, it's
the
a very
Earth.
Yeah.
Earth is going through, like, the whole ice age. I think we're gonna go back to another...
Actually, we're due for an ice age.
Yeah.
Like, as far as, like,
which is
climatology goes.
Which is funny because right now everything's warming up.
Yeah. Well, see, the thing, like, when they talk about, like, global warming or anything like that, like, it's a very inaccurate terminology, which is why they now use the term climate change, because it's not just about warming. You know, warming does happen, but there's so many other
like,
effects,
sometimes
you know?
winters can be even more dramatic.
Oh, yeah.
You know.
Yeah, that's true, but I have a question for you guys, because this is something that I think about fairly regularly. Do you think that it's possible that mythic creatures just adapted to the human population? So as in, they interbred with us, you know, like they interbred with cats, they interbred with dogs, whatever the species
it was.
is, you know, so like, that's why you have those like creepy smart animals, you know, that's why you have someone who can walk through a mangrove forest and not trip over roots.
Yeah.
You know, someone who can climb a tree like only a natural thing that climbs trees could, you know, like, are there dryad genes in humans?
I absolutely think so, because it makes me think about how some people identify as fae.
Yeah.
And I think, like, they feel that way because
there's fate in them.
Yeah, exactly. They feel like that.
Yeah.
And there are some people that are just, like, very connected to, like, elvish type stuff, or hobbit type stuff, or fae stuff.
Or
like,
nature, or just particular nature. Trees.
Yeah, exactly.
You know? Like,
and I really think that just comes down to just, it's in your blood, like, where it came from.
You know, generations ago, like, there was a fairy in your bloodline, and the fairy just passed its genes down, you know, and this is why you have a natural bent for this sort of stuff, you know, and there's people who have a natural bent for visual art, you know, where they can create something with dots.
Well, and I think that's why
a computer can't do it. There's got to be some magic involved there, right?
Well, and I think that's why people can also see.
Yeah.
See spirits or see creatures.
You know, the people who have the experiences.
Yeah, they're more connected to those levels and planes because it's just in them.
Yeah.
I mean, that makes a lot of sense.
And I think you could say that about, like, dwarfism.
Yeah.
Or even just really tall people. Like, what they mix with.
Yeah,
you know?
giants.
What's in their genes?
You know, was at one point, you know, thousands of years ago or hundreds of years ago or whenever it happened, did they in fact mix? You know, because like we know that other species of humans did that. So like Neanderthals, we know that we genetically mix with Neanderthals. Now you're telling me that, you know, you meet some beautiful elf out in the forest.
Why wouldn't you?
And you're not going to intermix? Like, I'm going to intermix.
I think that's a load of BS if anybody says otherwise.
Exactly.
Right?
And this is why you have the beautiful, perfect people who don't have to try to do anything because they intermixed with elves.
Yes, exactly.
You know, like wake up from a hangover night looking like they could go on and be an anchor on TV.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I mean, and there's some people who do have, like, pointier ears.
Yeah.
It's just...
Or brighter eyes, you know, where it's like their color of their eyes is just vivid. You know, you have people who have a bent for future telling.
Oh, yeah.
You know, you have people who are...
psychics and stuff.
Yeah.
All of this stuff.
I think this also goes, like, into what me and you were talking about, Cheyenne, the other day, is could we evolve ourselves to look different and look more, quote, like, mystical? Like, could we start. It would take a long time.
Yeah.
It'll be through multiple
but
generations.
Could we, like, some of us be in the water
all the time?
All the time. And that's what you do in your family. Like, you guys are basically living in the water.
Yeah. So there are actually people who have developed a closer, relationship to water through, time and change. And I believe, and I would need to fact check to be sure, but I believe they're called the Sea Bajau, and they live in like the South China Sea. They originally started out living on land, like hundreds of years ago, and through war, conflict, famine, they basically knew that they could go to the ocean. So they've lived off of small dinghies and small boats, and sometimes even huts and stuff on actual like shallow parts.
Yeah.
But they have developed basically like amazing breath control.
Yeah.
Like they literally hunt. They do all of their stuff in the ocean, and they do it. I don't want to say primitively, because it's not a primitive thing. It's a very well-developed skill. But they don't do it with diving masks and oxygen tanks and stuff like that.
Is that like called like a free diver?
Yeah, like free diving. But like they free dive for like several minutes at a time, and they go deep, and they're just very at home in their aquatic environment. Their eyes actually change so they can see better under the ocean.
That's cool.
And I don't mean like changes and like change, but like their eyes have developed a greater adaptability to the ocean.
Yeah.
So I do believe that if you submerge yourself, literally in this sense, in an environment, you will change. Because take I am having a bit of a brain blank on what they are called. Sherpas, that's what they're called. Or that's a term for them. I don't know if that's what they're called. But they're high altitude mountaineering guides.
Oh yeah, I said something about that too, where like the air up there is a lot thinner.
Super thin.
And so they have adapted to be able to breathe that amount of oxygen.
And it's to the point where we're tourists, because it's not a super commonly known thing, but Everest is actually a huge tourist attraction. Like, it is tall, it is long, but it is also something that they set up in a season, so the Sherpas go up there, they set up all the lines and everything, and then people just climb up and then climb back down. And it is dangerous and stuff, especially for Western people, or just people who are acclimatized to life, near ocean level, because we're used to having a rich oxygen level to breathe.
Yeah, so, I know when you have to take breaks and go up a little bit, get used to it, and then keep going.
Yep, and it's a significant break. So like when you get to Everest Base Camp, which is as far as a lot of people get, because they can't handle the altitude even there.
Yeah.
You have to take a break of like 2 weeks or 10 days. It's a significant amount of time to acclimatize to going higher. And then once you get past a certain point, even once you've been acclimatized, you still need supplemental oxygen as a person who's used to it. Yeah. Now the Sherpas, they don't need supplemental oxygen. Like they can just go to the top of Everest and back down, because their bodies have adapted to it over time.
Yeah.
There's also a lot of lore, well, it is lore, I guess, but like science that they figured out that the Peloponnesian Islanders, so the Hawaiians and all of the other people who have settled the small island chain, who are the navigators, and all of that kind of stuff, they have found out that these people, their bodies actually hold on to every nutritional thing that they can get out of their food. So they hold on to carbohydrates in a way that other people's bodies don't. And that's because for thousands of years they were acclimatized to long journeys between islands.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking, Hawaii is one of the most isolated island chains on the earth. And it's thousands of miles away from either coast, So imagine crossing that on a catamaran or a wooden canoe.
Yeah.
It takes days, it takes weeks, and while they did bring food, ultimately, there's going to be hungry moments in your journey. So their bodies, through that course of time, have adapted to be able to get everything that they can out of their food. So in the modern world, that actually tends to be a bit of a bad thing, because now we have a surplus of nutrients,
Yeah.
You have fats, you have sugars, you have all of those things, and their bodies don't shed that as easily as the rest of our bodies do, because of the genetic adaptation that they've had. So I 100% think it's possible that over the course of generations, you could create yourself into a new environment.
Yeah.
And I think, also what I was going to say is, could we physically, our appearances, could we change it to look more mystical? Like, could we train our ears to be more pointy, and then throughout generations, your family has pointy
that DNA
ears.
type strand of
It
adapting.
goes into it.
Yeah.
And
Well,
then it would make
selective
our
breeding is
world like
possible.
more interesting.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think humans are
Where
kinda
people
boring.
don't just have like their differences, like slight facial differences and colors of the skin.
Yeah.
Where we could have, this family has super pointy ears, like there's
This is
an
a
elf
really
family.
tall giant family.
Yeah.
This is a really tall. We do have really giant families
so kind of like
nowadays.
bright almost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, in that sense, where like the mystical becomes more of a mix of mystical and modern.
Oh
Yeah.
You know? Although
think
I
that'd be
hate the
so
way
cool.
that they have fairies depicted in that
Yeah,
movie. I
yeah.
hate it. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I don't like the idea of fairies being like things that like
just,
destroy
like,
your bird
annoyances.
nests
Yeah.
and you kill them with a broom. Like,
yeah,
no.
well, and like I said earlier,
Like-
like how they're like nature. I mean, like you have different types of like fae,
Yeah.
but like mainly there's like the nature caring type of
Yeah.
fae.
Yeah.
So in the movie Bright, they how they skew how they are.
I mean, it's an interesting take because I never considered a fairy to be a mindless animal.
Yeah.
I don't even want to say mindless animal because there's really no such thing as mindless animal, but like a more basic animal, one that's driven by instincts rather than
But
intelligence.
there's also like there's nymphs and
yeah.
like who are bigger,
Yeah.
because when people think of fairies, they think of really tall or like really small
Yeah.
little people with wings.
Like they sleep
Yeah.
on like rose petals and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's nymphs who are also fairies.
Yeah.
But they're bigger.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of like ghouls and dwarves, or like they're fairies.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they're a
just
part of the.
different kind.
Like
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
like
Fairies look different.
It's the
No,
same
That's
idea.
why they're
gnomes are like
fae.
a cousin
Well, it's
of
like
fae.
it's like the same idea of like race among humans. Like it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Like 99.99% of us are genetically identical. Like
We're
we may have
all
different
the human
skins.
race.
Yeah.
We're just, there's different kinds of us.
We have different
I hate the
skins.
whole
We
idea
look
of that.
different, but like genetically speaking, most of humanity comes from one mitochondrial Eve, and that is not a religious thing. That's we can trace genetics back to one or two women from around the world whose offspring have sprung up and like multiplied.
Yeah.
And it worked, and we're here clearly, and we're a dominant force on Earth. But the idea that we're different, because we
Yeah.
live in different lands, it's not actually based in fact.
No.
Like, so I do think that fairies, like dwarves and gnomes and all of them, I do think they're probably a part of like the same family,
Yeah,
and they just have
branch.
adapted to their environments.
Exactly.
Well,
I mean, that's what every type of animal does on this planet is adapt to where they are living.
Exactly. So why
And-
should the fae be any different?
There's a rabbit that like they're brown in like the summertime.
Yeah.
And when it's wintertime, their fur changes to white
Yep.
to blend in.
Arctic. It's the Arctic one.
Yeah,
because,
exactly.
Because like so much of their year is like snow, and so much of the year is this.
Yeah.
And I thought that was pretty crazy too. The first time I
That's
heard about it,
pretty
I'm
cool.
like, that's a major difference. Like,
Yeah.
we're
Yeah, it
talking
is.
about changing. I mean, I guess it's fur, so it's not like skin per se, but
Yeah.
at the same time, you're talking
Fully
about
changing
changing
your
your
color.
color incredibly dramatically,
Yeah.
seasonally, and you just do it.
Well, we have
Yeah.
a lot of animals in our regular life that can change into their environment, like stick bug.
Oh yeah.
It's just a stick,
Yep.
Or there's the leaf one.
Oh,
leaf.
the praying mantis, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you look up praying mantises, they're so cool. There's ones that look like orchids.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
they're just beautiful.
Or
And I
even,
would have
like,
never guessed.
chameleons
Yep.
and all these animals that camouflage into the environment. Why wouldn't you think that mystical creatures
Could do the same.
could do the
They
same?
adapt to their environment and blend with
Make
everybody.
themselves look like rocks.
And if
Make
they've had to
themselves
hide
look
for
like
thousands
flowers.
of years,
Yeah.
they've probably adapted even better strategies than they originally had.
You know what? They're
Yeah.
probably
You know.
just walking around with everybody else. That's what I always wonder all the time, if there's actually vampires in this world. And obviously they're smart,
Yeah.
and they know how to hide things, or they go to, like, I'm pretty sure there is vampires in New Orleans.
Oh, God, yeah.
Oh, there has to be.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah.
The population, the tourists that go there, and just, like, there's a lot of, like, witchy stuff going on in New Orleans anyways. Like, all the voodoo stuff.
That actually reminds me of a point that we were talking about True Blood earlier.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I loved about True Blood, and mind you, I have not finished it yet. I'm only about 2 seasons in, and I'm not a super dedicated like watcher of it.
Yeah.
But what I really enjoyed about the way that they did things is they did kind of fit the Fae mystical world into the more modern world. So like up until recently, and I want to say maybe in the last 10 years, they didn't actually think that there were wildcats in Florida, Black Panthers, you know, or even just panthers in general. Well, we now know through trail cams and internet connection and all of those things that there are, in fact, a population of wild cats that live in the deep Florida swamps and, you know, other wetlands and stuff like that. Well, in True Blood, they actually adapted that to be a family of people who could shift in and out of their own form. So shapeshifters, essentially. Yeah. But they were tied, for whatever reason, to the form of a black cat. Well, to me, I was like, this is a beautiful idea of this. Yeah. Because it was such a mystical concept for so many years. And all the people who saw him, just like Bigfoot and just like anybody who sees anything, they were like, no, I saw it. Like, trust me, it was there. And people are like, oh yeah, I'm sure there's, you know, big cats in Florida. Yeah. And now we know that there is. So it's like, cool, this show is like literally giving us a reason why this could exist. Yeah. Because they're not always black cats. Yeah. You know, so that's why you can't track them. That's why you can't find them.
I was going to say that reminds me of Bigfoot, of where there's so many sightings of Bigfoot.
Same thing.
And the whole idea of like people being like, oh, Bigfoot, no, he's not real. Why would you know? Yeah. I'm saying like, if you just look at the basis of like what Bigfoot is, there's nothing crazy about a Bigfoot that couldn't be real.
Oh yeah, no, like there's as far as like their body and like how they would live.
Yeah, of course. Now, is it like the Loch Ness monster, and does it go into realms, and that's why?
And it just occasionally pops in for like you know,
and
like,
then people are like, oh, it's there.
There's like a glitch in it.
Yeah,
and you just see it walking.
Yeah,
like all those sightings of. The
glitch in the Matrix and oh my gosh,
glitch in the realms.
I know it makes total sense.
Where like there's sightings where they were walking across the road and they almost hit it.
Yeah,
is like it could be that they are walking in their realm and it kind of glitches and then they're on our road.
Yep.
And then they just keep walking like nothing's happening.
Then they're gone. I am a subscriber of the multiverse theory. Like I think that makes total sense, that there are a million universes out there with a million possibilities. Like, why wouldn't that exist?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe we can't confirm it. Like, who's to say? We might never be able to.
Yeah. Just because you're a person of, I need to see to believe, doesn't mean it it's not real.
You know, and also as a side note with the Bigfoot thing, there was a couple things a couple years ago when I was looking into Bigfoot and just reading and learning about it, you know, because I was interested. And there's a big theory out there. So, like, all through America, both man-made and just naturally within the earth, there are tunnels and caves and caverns. And we haven't really explored them because they're not incredibly safe for humans to go into. Like, one, they're not explored, so we don't know what's in there. You know, we don't know if we can get through. We don't know if we can get out. So most people don't do that. There are crazy people who do a thing called spelunking, which I think is insane. I am not going to climb into a dark hole in the ground and just hope I can get out. It's not going to happen. I'm not the guy for that. But there was someone who was like, who's to say that the Bigfoot population doesn't predominantly live in caverns and only really comes up to forage and have food?
Yeah.
You know, so like they know the ins and outs and they can travel unseen and all this stuff in a realm that we haven't explored.
Yeah, exactly.
In the same way that the oceans are a realm that we've played in.
There's so much ocean.
But, like, haven't really gotten to yet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's like, we don't even have the technology to reach the bottom of the ocean. We don't necessarily, well, we do, but, like, it's very hard, very complicated, very expensive, you know, to get to the deepest parts of the ocean. Same thing with, like, the deep parts of the earth. Like, we
have not gone that far. All we've gotten is just, like, the S waves, P waves, to like have an idea of maybe what the Earth is made out of.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like we have an idea, we have a concept,
Yeah.
and that's how we know that there's caves and tunnel systems all over the place.
Yeah.
And the odds are they could be connected. So in my mind, I'm like, well, I can't discount this possibility.
Yeah.
I simply can't discount this possibility because
unless you can like say like you can like prove it to not be true, you can't say that
yeah,
it isn't true.
And I tend to believe the body of people out there, maybe they could mistake, maybe a couple of them could be mistakes, you know, I misidentified a bear from far away or something.
Yeah, that's
you know,
for
some
sure
of them could be mistakes. But I think that it's just like the rest of the things. When you have thousands of people over hundreds of years, all saying the same thing.
Yeah.
Well, what's the common denominator here? Disbelief.
Yeah.
You're not believing them. And their stories are fairly similar.
Yeah.
You know?
Just because it's a small percentage of people who've seen this thing, like Bigfoot, there's a small percentage of people who've seen it.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean this other big percentage, just because they don't believe in it, doesn't mean it's not there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think a major part that say like disbelievers or people who aren't even open to possibilities that they may not know, I think a big part of it is that it's like an ego thing. You know, it's like I want to be the top.
Yeah.
You know, I want to be the top. I don't want to be scared of something potentially being above me, you know, as far as that goes, like a vampire or someone who is, you know, a magic user or something
that's stronger
that they can't understand and that could hurt them.
Yeah.
You know, like I feel like it's a fear thing and I feel like it's a mammal thing. Like you always want to be the apex predator, right?
Yeah.
No one wants to be the chicken.
Yeah.
Because the chicken gets eaten.
Yeah.
You know, they want to be the grizzly bear. Because the grizzly bear very rarely gets eaten.
Yeah.
You know? So it's just one of those things. I think that's a huge factor of why a lot of people discount magic and intuition and sightings and ghosts and all of those things is because they don't want to believe
their brain can't wrap around it.
I think
they can't.
Scared. They're scared that something is that powerful.
Is greater than them. Yeah. You know, has like they're scared that there may be a ghost in their house that they don't know how to do anything about.
Yeah.
And it could hurt them. Even though the ghost did nothing.
It's just the unknown. Hey, it's scary.
How's it going? Yeah,
it's
the unknown. Yeah, yep.
If you can't explain it, if you don't know for sure, it's scary.
It's the same reason why people are afraid of deep water.
Yeah.
Or going into dark holes in the ground.
Yeah.
Or dark, just in general.
Yeah.
You know?
Anything could happen.
Yeah. So I think there's a major part of the whole I don't believe in mythical creatures thing that comes from, like, ego and fear.
Mm-hmm.
I think you could say about, like, I want to say something about, like, Megalodons.
Oh, yeah. Like, those are the giant sharks, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought so. I wanted to make sure.
They lived millions of years ago.
Yeah.
But I think it was the movie Megalodon where they had this, like, little submarine thing that went deep, deep down in the water. And I think in the movie there was, like, a little, like, bubble that had this, like, deep water. And then after that bubble is super deep water.
Yeah.
And that's where, like, the Megalodon lived.
Oh, okay.
And then they, like, popped that bubble, and the Megalodon got out and just started tearing everything apart, which I feel like would be a cool concept of if the Megalodon was still living, that they're probably in deep water.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And, like, people don't go in the water that often.
Yeah.
So it's like, why would you know that? Like, they're not going to be up by the beaches like other sharks are. Because other sharks are smaller.
Yeah.
The Megalodon will be out in the ocean eating bigger things.
I feel like they'd be eating, like, squid and stuff, like giant squid and, you know, that kind of thing. Like, that would be the prey that you would think that, like, a giant shark would go for.
Yeah, because I think if in the movie Megalodon, they ate whales.
So yeah, I could see whales.
They ate whales, they ate sharks and everything, and like just tearing through like what we had in the water.
We know that sperm whales and the giant squid fight, and that's another thing. That's an interesting fact is that like this whole point of or not the whole point, I guess, but like the concept behind this conversation is why couldn't mythical creatures exist, right?
Yeah.
And for the longest time, and I'm talking up until the 2000s,
yeah,
science did not believe in the giant squid.
Yeah.
It wasn't until we had a couple specimens wash off, it wasn't until we got a couple pictures of them, and then finally, oh, yeah, turns out the Kraken is freaking real.
Yeah.
Like, just throwing that out there, like, and now science recognizes that. So who's to say that it couldn't be something like that with other mythic creatures?
Yeah, it just makes me wonder, like, what mythical creatures are here still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
and
gotta
how
be,
are
like,
they hiding, and...
the smartest and the most adaptable.
Yeah.
If they don't have an escape route or magic powers.
Yeah.
Because they would have to have adapted to a human world, right? So, you know, Bigfoot.
Yeah.
Learning to travel in a different place. Learning to avoid humans. Like, I mean, how many times do you go out into the forest and see deer or tiger, or not tigers, because we don't live in that part of the world, but like deer or bears, raccoons, birds. I mean, birds you probably see the most of because, you know, they can stay away from us, but like...
Speaking of birds, one of my, like, something that just resonates with me so much is the Thunderbird.
Oh, I like the Thunderbirds too.
I think they're so amazing and so big, but like... I where would they be, you know, on Earth without being able, like, they're just so big that why wouldn't we see them more often? But I know there is sightings of people seeing Thunderbird.
Yeah.
So where are they going? There has to be some type of, like, realm. There has to be some type of plane that they're going through.
Yep. Or perspective. You know, because like if they're a big bird, right? Presumably,
or just flying
people
really
I was gonna
high.
say they could fly really high, and it doesn't look like anything more than a hawk.
Yeah,
or
an eagle.
Or an eagle, yeah. Or at that point, and I've always found it ironic, not ironic per se, but like what I know about Thunderbirds, and I don't even know if this is accurate, but what I've learned through association and stuff is that it was mostly the native cultures of the Southwest.
Yeah.
That talked about the Thunderbird, and that might be wrong. Like, it very much could be wrong. But I found it really crazy that this bird this magical bird that's associated with the rain is associated with the desert region.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because, like, presumably, like, they don't think about rain. I mean, maybe they do think about rain more in a desert.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's hard to say, but, like, me being from Minnesota where water is abundant,
yeah,
like, I can't imagine living in a place where water isn't abundant.
Yeah.
So the idea of, like, an entire culture that reveres water-bringing birds, I mean, it makes sense for a desert culture to do that, but at the same time, I thought it's very oddly specific. Why do Thunderbirds live in the desert?
Yeah.
Why don't they live in, say, Minnesota, the land of 10,000 lakes? You know, or near an ocean, because they're water associated.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
so like a rainforest.
You know, that reminds me of the movie, like one of my favorite movies ever, is Lady in the Water.
I have not seen that.
It is so good.
Yeah.
It's about, I think she's a nymph. And so there's like the whole history of nymphs and humans living together, but because of like the bad mentality of humans, they kind of separated themselves. But to try to reconnect people back to this this world like they used to be, they sent this girl to this like apartment complex kind of thing, and there was a pool in the courtyard, and she met the guy, and then there's people from who was living there who met her, and they came together, and like the Seven Sisters and this and that, and like it was like, I don't know how to explain it to you. It's like literally an experience. But at the end of the movie, after everything that happened that needed to happen, a Thunderbird came and took her away. And it was just beautiful. It makes me so emotional.
I'll have to check it out. It sounds like a good movie.
It's such a good movie, and I'm like,
it's very intense.
Yeah, I'm telling you right now, it's a really good movie, and the quality of it, people would say it's a bad movie. because it's like an older movie. I don't remember when it was made. So people are like, oh, that's a bad movie.
But
the whole idea of it, the whole
they did a good job of what they had.
The story, it's a storytelling movie. It's it's about a storytelling thing.
I have a lot of old movies that I like that are just based off of stories because I'm a big story person. Like I like stories, I like books, I like mythic stories, I like art. So it's one of those things where like, have you guys seen Waterworld? It's got Kevin Costner. It's a wonderful movie. A lot of people are thrown off by the length because it's like 3.5 hours long.
I have patience.
It's a fantastic movie.
I've seen Titanic.
Yeah, I know, right? No, she said she saw Titanic.
Oh, yeah. Fair enough. But Waterworld is pretty good. Like it works off of this like idea that we basically flooded Earth.
Yeah.
And lost dry land. So now these people live on boats permanently, and they live on floating islands that they've constructed from the garbage that washes up from the cities and stuff below. So like think of like a post-apocalyptic like world covered in water.
Yeah.
So it's dystopian, scrap metal, people are barely struggling to make it. Dirt is the most valuable thing in their society. So dirt is money. So like that's how, because they have to grow food. So like they still need dirt. They still need to be able to refine water, to pull seawater out of it. But all of the stuff that they're using is the stuff that our society right now is using.
Yeah.
But it's thousands of years later, and it was underwater for a long time. So like they're literally using scrap metal to float on top of this world. And the whole concept is that Kevin Costner is what they call a Mewtwo or a Mutie. I think it's Mutie, and it means that he adapted over time, and he can breathe underwater.
Wow!
So he brings them dirt, and he gets what he needs. Like a whole jar of dirt, he could buy the entire atoll, basically. But it's easy for him to get. But the people on the atolls who can't breathe underwater don't like him, so he has to keep it secret that he can actually breathe underwater. They find out, they're going to try to recycle him, which means that they basically are going to make him dirt. They're going to try to make him dirt, which is ironic, but probably accurate because, it's just one of those things where it's like, this is a dude who could get you as much dirt as you wanted if you were friends with him.
Yeah.
But you dislike him for a difference, so you're going to try to make him dirt through a really long, slow process.
Yeah.
Right?
But like with like Lady in the Water, like the whole concept of like the storytelling with like this mystical thing, I don't think all fairy tale creatures are real. I think a lot of them are storytelling. I think they maybe branched off of something.
Oh, yeah.
But I think a lot of it is just storytelling. And I just think it's very important to, like, have mystical creatures and stuff. It keeps the imagine and, like, the unknown. Like, the unknown can be scary, but it can also be really, like, interesting and magical.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I
know, like I always say, like, it would be cool. Like, our world is boring.
Yeah. Pretty much.
It would be really cool to have people who are different.
Yeah, magic keeps it interesting.
Different.
Yeah.
So it's not like you see this type of person every single day where there's girls who look exactly the same, just slightly different, or guys who look exactly the same, just slightly different. Where you have people who are walking around with pointy ears, who are super tall, purple skin, really short,
green hair,
just crazy looking, and it'd just be so much more interesting.
I mean, we already try to do that to ourselves.
Yeah.
As a
which just kind of proves the idea of like the mixing kind of thing of like people identify a certain way and they feel comfortable in their skin when they're like when they have bright colored hair or when they do body modifications.
Yeah, like I'm more comfortable having the pointed ears that I've got a surgery to get because this is my true self.
Yeah, this is resembles exactly how I feel.
This is what my spirit tells me.
Yeah.
I should feel like.
It just makes our world more colorful.
And more interesting.
Yeah. You're not seeing a person who doesn't have any tattoos at all. You can see a person that doesn't have any tattoos, and you can see a person who tattooed their eyeballs.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which I've met people who have done that. I'm impressed by their bravery because I would not want that
really
needle
scary.
near
That's
my
so
eyeball.
I mean, it's dangerous.
Yeah.
But it's cool. It's different.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, but after all of this talk of mystical creatures, I really want to, like, start digging deep and reading a bunch of stuff about it and, like, finding people's findings. Finding? What?
No,
finding people's findings.
I feel the same way, to be honest, because there's been several things that we've been talking about that I'm like, I haven't touched on this in years.
Well, it opens my mind to different ideas about, like, the realms and the stuff like that. It just kind of puts it in another perspective of, like, I don't know how to explain this, but then talking about it kind of, like, helps think about, well, that could be a possibility of that happening.
Yeah.
But I really enjoyed this talk today.
It was very, very fun.
It was fun. It was a great experience.
Thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
Maybe in another...
if you guys like him, maybe come back.
Yeah.
Maybe.
We got lots of topics that we could talk about.
That's true. That is 100%
We could just have a whole topic on Lord of the Rings.
Oh, yeah. We could have a topic on food, tattooing.
Yes, everything. But thank you so much for listening.
Please leave a comment of what you would want to listen to.
Yes, and follow us on, like, Instagram and TikTok, and, like, give us some ideas of topics. But thank you for listening, and we will see you next Saturday. Bye!